Yes, I mean, there will be enough of it to reflect the time it is supposed to be portraying, and it's just portraying a brutal time. So there will be some of that, but I think there is an awful lot more political intrigue, a lot more interpersonal relationships. But yes, it was a violent time, so there will be some scenes that reflect that time.
Look, Game of Thrones is a very violent world where unexpected things happen all the time. I think this show very much explores a Westeros that we all, I think, know pretty well at this point. Characters will face unexpected violence and peril a lot of times, and things that the great thing about this show and world is that you don't ultimately know what's lurking around the next corner, and I think you have to be ready for anything. And I think this show honors that and has a lot of surprises in store for the audience.
So basically, here is a character who is full of ambition for his family. His wife, who is known as the Queen Who Never Was, has been overlooked as far as he's concerned. He feels that she would have made a better monarch than the present incumbent of the Iron Throne. Viserys, as far as Corlys is concerned, is a very nice man, but not the right king for this time. And so an awful lot of this season is about Corlys trying to maneuver himself and his family closer to the power, either through succession or through marriage. So that's kind of what his motor is for the most part of this season.
Well, I think that you can expect certainly him to become an integral part of the Targaryen rise to power, and as you know from the books, he is sort of at the heart of the Dance of the Dragons.
I'm probably not the best person to ask because my character, I don't get to ride any of the dragons. So when I've spoken to the others, Eve Best, who plays my wife, tells me that her dragon is the best. But Matt Smith, who plays Daemon, says his dragon is the best. So I'm sorry, I can't help.
Well, I just got given a toy dragon for Syrax, so I'm gonna go with Syrax as my dragon, I think.
I don't really have a huge amount of dragon stuff within the show, so I have only seen what's in episode 1. I want to see more of the dragons before.
I want to see more of the dragons. We've only seen episode 1 as well.
So far.
So,
as we said, we've only read what we're in, so.
But my dragon is the best.
Your dragon, I'm kind of biased as Rhaenyra's best friend. We have to say Syrax.
Syrax is a chiller. She's just like, chilling. She's a she.
Yeah, she's a she. She's cool.
Sure.
She's very cool.
She's cool.
Again, I think that's a difficult question to answer because, and this is from George Martin himself, the thing about this world is that there aren't any out-and-out villains. There are people there who hopefully do heroic and courageous things, but also will do dark and dastardly things as well. So I don't know, I mean, I'm biased, so obviously Corlys Velaryon is the best. Corlys and his wife are the best. But actually, I think the thing about this show is that the characters are neither black nor white, but firmly in the grey, I think. So it really depends on where you're coming from as a viewer as to who you appreciate, who you identify with.
Oh, good question. I think the most love is going to be there are two twins, the Tittensaw twins. They come in later in the show, but I think everyone's going to love them. And then the most hated, Daemon. I actually think Daemon's going to be loved, but I think there's going to be periods where people really hate him.
Well, look, the part of the challenge of this series is you have to recreate Westeros, but you have to create this feeling that time has passed because it's 200 years have gone from the day you meet the characters in our world to the day you meet Daenerys in the original series. So you have to communicate that, look, it's the Middle Ages, or at least it's based on the Middle-aged Europe. and time moves slower than it does in our modern world. 200 years now would be, with flying cars and spaceships. In that world, things change more slowly over time. So what's the same and what's different? And because this is a period of great decadence and power, and Targaryens at the height of their wealth and influence, we wanted to show how that world was different and possibly had, it was the shining jewel of the Red Keep was a little brighter back then, before we meet the Empire in decline. And I think one of the ways we did that was with the throne, which George described as being thousands of swords of the fallen enemies of Aegon the Conqueror. And the throne in the original series is iconic. I mean, just the silhouette of it, people know what it is. So what we tried to do is honor that silhouette, but then say, well, maybe things have changed over time, and maybe this symbol used to be greater than it was, and you can tell a story of things changing over the 2 centuries between our throne and the original throne, and make you wonder what happened to make that happen.
I can tell you how it's different. It is different because Game of Thrones was pretty much about these warring families all coming together, well, not coming together, all clashing for the ultimate prize, the throne. This story is about one family destroying itself. So it becomes a slightly more intimate story. And so when we meet this family, when we meet the Targaryens, they're at the height of their power. But of course, when you're at the height, there's only one place you can go, which is down, and which is what this series is about. So I can't say to you what it has that the others don't, but I can tell you that it's a more intimate. Hopefully, the idea is to be a more intimate piece of work than that incredible show was.
Well, it's a very different, it's a very different show in the sense that, I think that House of the Dragon is a very condensed start, so all the characters are together at the very beginning of the show, as you know from the first episode, whereas in the original show, everyone was in different worlds. So I think the feel is very different by nature of it going from in to out rather than out to in.
I think that the way that they've chose to communicate the world is drastically different to the first Game of Thrones, and I also believe that the depth in which we get to explore these characters is way more nuanced because we kind of really hone in on that. And I mean, visually, it's stunning.
Mind-blowing.
Like, it's like the camera department and the VFX team, honestly, were outstanding on that job. So I think that's how it's
As
different.
Millie said, we're honing in. I think it was Ryan that said in an interview that came out not that long ago, is that the main difference is this is one family.
It's one family. It's not like a bunch.
Family who are fighting in amongst each other, which I think is a fascinating dynamic to watch on screen.
Yeah. Really sad, because the context of why I say Dracarys is not great. But it was a really beautiful day shooting that scene because we were in Cornwall.
I got goosebumps when you said it. I can't lie. And we all did. I remember the obviously, again, just no spoilers.
Back
but
my
if
head.
you've seen the episode, like we're all we're all there at the same time.
It's so nice.
And I remember there was just something in the air because of course there was no actual dragon. It was busy that day, so we just had to cope without. And there was just the tension in the air. We were on this cliff in the middle of kind of nowhere. It was kind of gloomy and it was raining.
Gorgeous.
And
we had to get those buggies down.
yeah, oh my god, the
Dude,
buggies.
bro, it was so muddy.
It was so remote.
It was
so remote.
We had everyone.
Everyone.
We had Dave.
Everyone was there. Dave and Bill.
Dave and Bill.
Everyone
they
was
need
there.
their own spin-off.
It was, but anyway, back to the question.
Anyway, back to the question.
Dracarys, it
Dracarys,
was like
sad.
it was intense,
It was
sad,
lovely.
but goosebump worthy. And I think also as a viewer of the show, when you see that scene and you see Millie's face when she says it, you're very talented. Her head's gonna grow.
Yeah, I mean, I think the great thing about this is that we have this 300 years of history that George has. Well, he's written half of it because George never writes anything in one book. He always needs more than one book to finish his stories. But I mean, this story certainly George has written the end of it already. So the question for us is more, because you're dealing with this 300-year-long dynasty, is really where you end it versus how you end it. and where we decide to put the period at the end of that sentence or the full stop at the end of that sentence. So I think we have an idea of where we want to go, but I think as with anything, the details get clearer as you move down the timeline, and I think we have an idea, and we're heading towards that, but we'll see when we get there.